I do think, well, there is concern that now it may, at the time she was considered to be totally upright, but now her true colours have come to light because she has agreed to serve as the Chief of Staff, we believe, to the Labour Party, if that is approved by ACABA, the Advisory Committee on Business Appointments, the watchdog that approves senior mandarins and ministers taking jobs after government. So there's still a few hoops to be jumped through. But I'm interested in how her reputation sort of plays out from here on out. I think it could be slightly rewritten, and certainly that is what those around Boris Johnson are already attempting to do.
Well, Boris Johnson there, Lucy Fisher then. What are we to make of this? He's not supporting Rishi Sunak's Brexit deal, which is entirely unsurprising by the time the statement was made, but he's not trying to lead a Tory uprising against it either. What do we make of that? It's not restraint, is it? It's not loyalty to Rishi Sunak. It's because there's no big uprising to lead.
No, I think Boris Johnson is clearly keen to criticise his successor and someone who's become something of a nemesis to him. Rishi Sunak has got a lot of credit for the deal this week. Ursula von der Leyen, as she stood side by side with him on Monday, basically made clear with that warmth of tone, talking about how she first met Rishi Sunak in Sharm el-Sheikh at COP, that he was the only one who could have clinched this deal. It's led to this big reset with the EU. It paves the way for a reset with the US. It has been heralded as quite a win for Sunak. And you can just imagine how much that has riled Boris Johnson. And I think the timing today is a bit strange. Day 4 after the deal was unveiled, it feels a little bit too little too late. But I think you're right. There is a sense that there isn't a big uprising to be led by him. And I'm struck by his language. He's criticising it in quite punchy terms, but doesn't rule out voting for it. Says it would be very difficult for him to do so. It's a warning shot to Rishi Sunak. But equally, he's not backing himself totally into a corner if there is a 3-line whip there, and potentially putting his own future in the Conservative Parliamentary Party on the line.
Because it is open to Sunak, if he chose to do so, to make it a confrontation. He could put out an order, as you say, you have to vote for this thing, the 3-line whip, and if you don't, well, you're at least at risk of punishment, maybe even losing the whip, although that it seems a pretty dramatic idea.
Yeah, and I'm struck today, I've just come from Westminster, where what everyone's talking about is the Sue Gray news. So, that feels a bigger, more relevant piece of sort of political gossip, developing news than Boris Johnson's intervention, which just shows how much he's fallen down the agenda. But the two are not entirely separate. There is a sense in which Boris Johnson's allies are quite happy about the Sue Gray news because it allows them to frame her probe into Partygate as a party political inspired vendetta against Boris Johnson. It sort of degrades her reputation for probity and as Mrs. Ethics in some of their minds. And there is some concern in some Labour quarters that actually this move might backfire on the party. So,
really? I wonder how deeply that runs. I mean, Sue Gray, surely everyone, almost everywhere, will know the name of Sue Gray. Apart from anything else, it was repeated into our ear every 15 minutes for week after week after week while we were waiting for her verdict, Chief Civil Servant, looking into Partygate, for her verdicts on all of that. And along with that chorus, wait for Sue Gray, we had the chorus, she's as upright and as respected, as straight as a die as anyone you will ever meet. It's hard now to say she was in some way secretly aligned with Labour all the time.
Well, look, you're right. She became a meme, didn't she? But I do think, well, there is concern that now it may, at the time she was considered to be totally upright, but now her true colours have come to light because she has agreed to serve as the Chief of Staff, we believe, to the Labour Party, if that is approved by ACABA, the Advisory Committee on Business Appointments, the watchdog that approves senior mandarins and ministers taking jobs after government. So there's still a few hoops to be jumped through. But I'm interested in how her reputation sort of plays out from here on out. I think it could be slightly rewritten, and certainly that is what those around Boris Johnson are already attempting to do.
Well, maybe not just around Boris Johnson. She's now going to become a big central pillar, a pillar of Keir Starmer's team, which does make her a target, you could argue, a legitimate target for political attack. She's in the game of politics now.
Yeah, and I think there is some officials, I think, wonder what this will do to the reputation of civil servants. It also gives grist to those who complain, well, the civil service are lefties, are snowflakes, that there's a sort of implicit bias within Whitehall more generally. And another question mark that's been placed over her head is whether really she has the right skills for it. You know, she's a second permanent secretary, but she's never been a perm sec. She's never actually had the helm of a big department. Does she have the right skills of organisation, prioritisation, processology needed to do that job? And it's such a crucial job with aplomb. People are also raising that question today.
Well, I'm John Pienaar, and if you found that interesting, we are here each day, Monday to Thursday, 5 o'clock till 7 o'clock on Drive, and from 7 till 8, Pienaar and Friends, where we discuss the big stories of the day each day on Times Radio.